Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Soul Seekers podcast, where we believe that hunting has the power to transform lives through primal adventure as we share our mission of mentorship is conservation. To learn more about everything we do, check out our show on Carbon TV or go to soulseekersnation.com. Freedom on, everybody, and stay soulful. Do you want to become a better shooter, reduce flinch, protect your ears, and just overall enjoy shooting your gun that much more? Then there's no better way to do that than by adding a suppressor to the end of your barrel. Be sure to check out Huxworks Safety Company, as they are a leader in the suppressor world with their OSS flow-through technology, virtually eliminating blowback and toxic gas that can affect weapon system performance and shooter health. To find out more about Huxworks, go to huxwrx.com. That's huxworks.com, and go get yourself a suppressor for your upcoming hunts. This podcast is also proudly brought to you by Onyx Hunt. When I first got into hunting, I kept hearing all about public land and different access and how to find different locations to hunt. I was like, well, how are people even identifying all this stuff? Well, sure enough, I came across the number one hunting GPS app, and that is Onyx Hunt. If you guys want to get better at hunting and go deeper into your scouting, Onyx Hunt is the number one GPS app for that. Join the millions of hunters who trust Onyx Hunt to find more game, discover new access, and hunt smarter. It was a game changer for me, and I know it's going to be a game changer for you if you've never used it. If you have used it, you know the power that it holds. Guys, I really hope you enjoy this episode. If you want to know more about Onyx, go to onyxmaps.com/hunt. and check out their app. Be blessed, freedom on, and stay soulful. If you're in the market for optics, I want you to go check out blackdiamondoptics.com. Black Diamond Optics offers world-class sporting and tactical optics, including thermals, all at wholesale pricing, direct to consumer. They are going to be partnering up with us for 2023, and I want to start pointing you over towards their direction. Check out Black Diamond Optics. If you've got any questions about it, shoot us a message. Love to hear from you. Be blessed, everybody. All right, guys, if you're looking for a better way to stay hydrated this coming hunting season and on all your adventures in the future, go check out hardsidehydration.com. Their swig rig is awesome, an absolute game changer when it comes to staying hydrated. I get tired of playing around with any water bladders in my bag and having to remove things to get to them and the chance of them puncturing and all that. So what Hardside did, take Nalgene's, got multiple sizes, and you're attaching your hose straight to that. Keep it on the outside of your pack, a lot easier to use. They also have a lot of other cool things. Go check out hardsidehydration.com. Use the code SOULSEEKERS10. That's all one word. Save yourself 10% at checkout. Hope you guys enjoy this podcast. Be blessed. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Soul Seekers podcast. I'm your host, Johnny Mack, and tonight I have just an epic conversation waiting for you to soothe your soul and your ears. The voice of the South, the sweet talking man himself. He is the host of This Country Life podcast and one amazing individual. We got the legend Brent Reaves here tonight. You might recognize Brent with his big white Santa Claus beard and his overalls from everything, including his Bear Grease hat and all his funny shenanigans that he's doing with Clay Newcomb. But without further ado, we're going to be having Brent on talking about all sorts of different topics, from hunting, what it's like in the South, country life, and being a grandfather and a parent and an outdoorsman, and how to walk that balance. So without further ado, my man, Brent, Mr. Reaves, how are you doing this evening?
Oh, John, it's good to be here. I'm doing great, man.
You know, you get this a lot. People always say I have a face for radio, but you actually have a voice for radio.
Well, I appreciate it. I don't know how that was cultivated. It was just, I can't tell you where it came from. I'll tell you a quick funny story about it. About my daughter, Bailey, who I'm sure we'll talk about, is 10. She'll be 11 this month. And she was at dance class. And I took her she had a break, so I took her over to Sonic to get her something to drink. And this is like 3 months ago. And I ordered her something to drink, and the girl that brought it out there said, "Sir, I'm not even supposed to be a waitress tonight or delivering food tonight." but your voice sounded so good, I wanted to see what you look like." And I said, "Well, that's very nice, thank you." Bailey's rolling her eyes, she's heard this stuff before, and the girl said, "Have you ever thought about doing anything in radio?" And I said, "Well, I've thought about it." And she said, "Well, I just wanted to I just wanted to tell you." And Bailey hadn't said a word this whole time. "I just wanted to tell you, it sounded so nice and everything." And I said, "Well, thank you." Well, Bailey's cramming french fries in her mouth, and just out of the blue, she says, this is my daughter saying, "You get tired of it." It was kept right on poking french fries in her mouth.
I can just imagine the eye roll.
Oh,
You'll
yeah,
get tired
exactly.
of it.
Yeah,
You know,
just again.
there's two people in the outdoor space who I really admire and appreciate their voice. You being one of them, and the other is the
Oh,
great auctioneer John Bear. Have you ever met him before?
I I don't guess I have. No, but I
Okay.
appreciate you saying that.
He's got himself a voice that just makes you want to talk like him, like when you have people mimicking you just because of the way you talk, it's like, all right, I'll take
Yeah.
it as a compliment.
Yeah, well, sure, sure.
There's an app, Carbon Unwind. So it's put out by Carbon TV, which is where we host this podcast and our TV show.
Mhm.
But they have an app called Carbon Unwind. It has guided meditations, nighttime readings,
Okay.
storybooks, all based off of like outdoor and nature and stuff like that.
Okay.
And John Bear does some readings on there. And so if you want to fall asleep to the sound of John Bear and his voice, you know,
My niece who listens to my podcast, because I make her, but she's a nurse, and, she sent me a text one morning. My podcast comes out at, like, I think it's, like, 4 o'clock Central Standard Time in the morning every Friday, so, it's there when folks get up and start their day or whatever, but her being a nurse, she's at work early, at the hospital, and she sent me a text and said, "You put me to sleep today at 7 o'clock." And I'm like, "Not now, was I boring you, or or was it soothing? And if it's boring, don't even answer this. Don't even answer this text." So so I'm sorry for the patients that were late getting their meds that day down in Jena, Louisiana.
that is awesome. That is awesome. Yeah, like it's warm, it's welcoming. It's like being
Well,
wrapped up in a blanket and be like, all right, here, come sit down by the fire and let's listen to some stories now, youngin.
yeah. Well, I appreciate that very
I
much.
love it. So, Mr. Reeves, has hunting just been in your blood? Was it something that you did from your youth? And was
I
it,
I can't I cannot ever remember not doing it.
yeah,
I mean, the earliest memories I have are with my dad in the woods or on the river. I mean, it's a toss up whichever one I could think of, and it's been in that part of Arkansas where I'm from, down in southeast Arkansas, right on the close to the Bradley and Cleveland County line. That part of Arkansas was settled by my family from way back, and matter of fact, uh, the nurse that I was putting to sleep at work, she's done some genealogy research and traced our family back, the Reeves family back 9 generations there. So back when Arkansas was becoming a state, there was a Reeves down there making tracks in the woods down there and looking for something to eat.
wow.
Long time.
Did you just grow up on wild game?
We eat a lot of it. Now my dad it's kinda crazy, and I think it's because my dad ate so much of it when he was growing up. He'd rather have Now he loved what we killed hogs, wild hogs, and ate them, but a squirrel, he'd starve to death before he ate one. He wouldn't eat a squirrel, and I can't get enough of them. 'em. I'm thinking about them now. I wished I had one right now to eat on while we was talking.
A little squirrel on a stick,
Yeah, but, he was chicken and beef and hogs is what he ate, but I he would fix a lot of it for us. My mama would fix a lot for us. Now he liked quail, but back when we had quail, we killed a lot of quail and ate those, but I myself have survived on it, on deer meat and anything else I could him up long enough to knock in the head and get skint. So yeah,
Do you have a favorite wild game meat that I mean, you just said squirrels. Like you wish you had a squirrel to nibble on right now.
I
So,
love I love squirrels, and deer meat is just a given. That to me, that's not even. I eat it so much it's like somebody eating potato chips. I mean, it's really not. And it's wild game, obviously, but it'd be. It's just something I eat all the time, and I guess I take it for granted, and I shouldn't.
mm,
But if I only had one wild animal to eat, it'd be a hard. It would be a hard fight between wild turkeys and probably bear meat.
yeah.
Uh, I love bear meat, and my little girl, absolutely, she would rather eat bear meat than a ribeye steak
Man,
any day.
it's phenomenal. The
Hell yeah.
the wild turkey, you got to talk a little bit about that because a lot of people are like, I don't know, man. Wild turkey is fun, and yes, it tastes good, but I mean, a lot of people say it just doesn't taste the way you envision a turkey to taste because we're so used to this whole store bought butterball stuff.
Yeah. Well, if you wanna eat a dry turkey, don't don't kill a wild one and eat it because it ain't. And to me, I mean, if you can just simply put it in flour, salt and pepper, and buttermilk, and, make a batter and dip it in that and fry it in a skillet, cut it like chicken strips,
Uh huh.
and it's absolutely phenomenal. But what I like to do with it the majority of the time is I got a chicken pot pie recipe, but I will use wild turkey in it, and it is, oh my gosh, it's so good.
One of the things that I'm
It's
finding
good.
finding on my journey of becoming a hunter and being in this field is, you know, traditional roles of male and female, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Now, we're not talking modern society where the way the economy is set up, both parents have to work. But in traditional society of like, the mother stayed home and took care of the house and the kids and cooked meals, and the
Yeah.
husband went out and worked. I find it fascinating that most hunters do most of the cooking. The
Yeah. And yeah, I don't you saying that, I don't know why that is. My wife is 100% in support of me hunting and dragging home animals or whatever, as long as she don't have to eat them or help skin them. She she is a city mouse if there ever was one. We hadn't been married, I don't know, 6 months, I think. The story she tells is that she opened up the refrigerator and there was a bowl of squirrels in there I had skinned and was soaking in some salt water, and I remember it to this day. She opened up the refrigerator and looked in there, and she said out loud, I don't even think she knew I was in the room, she said, "How did I get here?" She she was raised in Texas, but in East Texas in Tyler, but her parents are from Arkansas, but they just didn't hunt. They're not against it. They just weren't raised in a family that did a lot of it. So it was all foreign to her. And she was like, even when we planned a wedding, she said, when I asked her to marry me, she said yes. And I said, well, we need to pick a date. And she said, well, I guess it needs to be the time of the year when you're not trying to kill something. When is that? And I said, well, late in May is pretty good. So that's what we did.
Oh yeah. So I have yet to publish a book that I'm sitting on. I wrote it a few years ago,
Oh,
and actually I got it in the hands of Steve Ranella over at Meat Eater, and got to
yeah.
talk with him about it. It was early on in my writing career. I get to rewrite it and polish it. I've become a better outdoor writer since.
Oh, yeah, he's the best.
But one of the things when it came to that is these unwritten rules, the unspoken rules of hunting in the outdoors and what
Mhm.
it's like to be an outdoorsman. And a lot of that has to do with when do you get married and when do you have your children?
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. If you're going to a wedding on the first day of bow season, that guy is not your friend.
right. He does not like you.
No, he doesn't.
Yeah, the are you familiar with, Malcolm Gladwell? He's a
I
writer.
am.
Okay, so
Mhm.
he's come up with I don't know if it is it Freakin' not free is it Freakonomics, the book that he did a book about when to have children and at what ages you want them to be in sports that will help succeed, help them to be at an older age. Like if you want your kid to play, he specifically talks about hockey. He's like, there's a cutoff date for hockey for
Mhm.
age, and if you want them to be the oldest in the group, and then or the youngest in the group, because if they're the youngest, they're not going to have as much maturity and physical stature, and then they're going to be
Right.
behind. But if your goal is
Right.
to get them to be the best, then they need to also be the most physical mature.
Yeah, dominate.
Yep, to be able to do that. And so it's really interesting thinking about, okay, how does that tie into hunting? What I just said is planning when you want to have children, right? The
Yeah.
Valentine's Day to October. Oh man, fellas, be careful.
Yeah, for real. And I'll tell you, when Alexis and I got married, 12 years ago, Lord, I hope it was 12 years ago. It was 12 years ago. Because if she's gonna listen to this and like, "You idiot, I just told you a week ago we've been married 12 years." Anyway, I had 2 grown children from a previous marriage, and she said, we talked about it, and she said, "Well, she said, "I love Hunter and I love Amy. They're just like mine, so it's really a perfect world. I got 2 wonderful children and no stretch marks." And I said, "Okay, that's fine with me. If you just do life with me, we'll be fine." So, our not having any kids, like I said earlier, she'll turn 11 in August. So, we told God that we wasn't gonna have any more kids, and he's like, "Yeah, you are. You're gonna have 1 more."
There you
So,
go.
there she
A
is.
little what is it, Sarah action there, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. What is it like being an outdoorsman and having children and having this legacy of, my granddad or my grandpappy and my dad, they taught me and we talked
Well,
oh, go ahead.
I mean, it's a responsibility. I look at it as a responsibility, not to make my children go, but to offer them the opportunity to do it.
What's up, Soul Seekers Nation? Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. I really appreciate it. As a reward, I have some discount codes for you to use if you are in the market for a brand new hunting pack. Go check out initialascent.com and Initial Ascent packs. They are made in America. Their one piece carbon frame is an absolute game changer. We run their packs, we love them, and you can save 5% at checkout by using the code Soul Seekers. That's all one word. Also, for those of you who are archery hunters and you are tired of shooting at dots on a target, check out deadnutsoutdoors.com for their lifelike 2D archery targets. You can save 20% on all of their products by using the code SoulSeekers at checkout. Once again, the code is SoulSeekers, all one word. Go check out initialascent.com and Dead Nuts Outdoors. Enjoy the podcast.
My son Hunter, who was a lot like me growing up with my dad. My dad was making a track somewhere. I was putting a track in his. I was following him everywhere he went, and he would take me everywhere. And I did the same with Hunter. And I would take him all the hunting he wanted to do. But I let him make the choice or let me back up. While I was out there, I was telling him the same things that my dad had taught me and that his grandfather had taught him. My my grandfather, my dad's father, had died when I think my dad was 4 or 5. So he didn't have that experience. It was always another member of the family, like his grandfather, who would have been my great grandfather.
Mhm.
So I felt it important to teach him the same things that I was taught, but also give him the option to say, this ain't my thing."
Right.
Which, he liked it. He did. He liked it a lot up until he got in I think he was a junior in high school, and he discovered and you think I'm gonna say girls, but it's not. It was jujitsu.
Mm, right.
And so he is an absolute fanatic about training. He's very accomplished in it. He's actually an instructor in it. He's a RN, a nurse here in Central Arkansas. So, and he likes to fish still, but he doesn't hunt as much as he did. And it's not while I wish he was with me, I wish he was doing a lot of that with me. I know it. I know that he's not going because I burned him out on it or I made him go when he didn't want to go. He made his choice that he wants to do something else. And there's been times with him that we'd hit the woods and we'd make all this preparation from the night before, and I would be up getting everything together and get him up the next morning, get all the stuff loaded. We'd go down the road 2 hours, an hour, whatever it was, to wherever we were gonna hunt, walk through the woods, hang a stand, get up in it, and 30 minutes we're getting there, and he's like, Dad, I wanna go home."
Mm,
I wouldn't make him stay. I said, "Well, let's go." To me, it was always more important that he enjoy us being together out there because we wasn't really hunting with a youngin. If you see game or if you kill game, that's man, that's just the gravy. But the biscuit to me is just being out there and spending time with them because that's all they want to do. They just want some attention. They want to be where you are. They want to like the things that you like,
mhm.
and that's what it was always has been for me.
Did he ever kill his first animal with you, or did
Oh
he?
yeah,
What
lots of them.
at what age, and was there any pressure or any like hard rules that you held? It's like, okay, if you kill it, you're gutting it, or if you kill it, you're hands on, or any of that, or did you allow the opportunity for your kid to shoot it and then not necessarily get hands on?
First animal he killed was a spike white-tailed deer at our family hunting club there in Cleveland County, and he decided he wanted to kill a buck. So
Mm,
when the first little doe walked out, it was off limits. I said, "You made your decision. That's what we're gonna stick with."
right.
So it wasn't 10 minutes. A little spike walks out, and he shot it, and he all on his own. He did everything all his own. I propped the gun up on the he'd been through the safety training. I taught him how to shoot his little single barrel, um, 243 he was
Hmm.
shooting. Now he was 6 years old, and he's aiming, doing the whole thing, pulling the hammer back, pulling the trigger, and he killed the deer. I mean, dropped it stone dead. But yeah, he helped. I mean, you can't give a razor sharp knife to a 6-year-old and expect him not to cut the deer and me and himself while he's at it. So
Right.
he did some gutting, pulling some guts out and some skinning himself, and I was there. And yeah, he was a whole part of it from start to finish. And it adds value to that. He can tell you right now about that day. And anything, the more that they're involved in, you know, you I never learned anything by watching anybody do anything. I could I could get kind of an idea about what they were doing, but once I got my hands in there and they told me, "Yeah, keep doing that," or "No, don't do that," that's when I learned how to do something.
Hmm.
And I think that that's what helped him. And I think that's important at any age,
Yeah. Yeah.
to do that.
I can speak specifically towards that, and that's the exact reason why I have my mission of mentorship is conservation. I don't consider myself an expert hunter by any means, and yet at the same time, I know how much and how powerful hunting is in someone's life. And
Yeah.
so, I like to tell people is like, you don't have to know it all to be a mentor. You just have to know how transformative and powerful hunting is in your life and
Oh,
then
yeah.
share that because all you do
Mhm.
is just, you know, like you were saying, you can watch somebody do it, but when you're hands on. So we like to bring a lot of brand new hunters with us on hunts. They're not tag holders because they don't have to be the one that squeezes the trigger to learn. But
Oh,
when
yeah.
we are physically putting them in a location and being like, look at this landscape, see this. This is why we're here.
Yeah.
And if we have the opportunity to knock down an animal and then put him on, be like, okay, now you're up, you're skinning this,
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
like it's something that they'll never forget, never
Oh,
forget.
for sure. Yeah.
What secrets, tips, or things would you do differently about hunting with children in the past? I know like snacks is always like the biggest thing, right? Like,
Man, let me tell you, my little girl, Bailey, if we're going coon hunting or if we're going over to the farm place that I hunt now, you know, I like to hunt. I like to bow hunt more than I rifle hunt. But if Bailey wants to go, then we hit the road. We'll sit in a box stand and I'll take a rifle. And the first thing she wants to do, our routine is I know what it's going to be. Bailey, we're going to go hunting Saturday. This is on Wednesday. Well, sometime between that time and Saturday or Friday night, her mama's got to take her to the store to get snacks because she's going to make sacks of, I mean, enough food that you would think we were going on a 3 day camp. And but we're going to go out there and sit, 3 hours maybe. And but she loves getting that stuff, getting everything ready and getting a backpack
uh-huh.
packed to go out there. And she wants to look at binoculars and she wants to look at deer and she wants to look at them. And then if she don't want me to shoot one, I don't shoot one. I mean, we're just if we're looking or if she's like, Daddy, let's get that one. That one looks like it tastes good. Well, that one gets it. And she has helped me skin deer. She hadn't killed one yet. I asked her last year. Last year was the first year I offered her the opportunity. She said she wanted to do it, and we got over there, and she said, I don't think I'm ready, but I want you to." So, we hunted
hmm
together.
I
So
had
it's all I just leave it up to them, you know?
okay, so this answers a couple questions, but dive deeper into this. I'm looking over here at my social media because I posed a question recently and I got some feedback, and
Mhm.
someone said, um, "What's a good age to start hunting with children?" And then also gun or bow, items to bring along to make it easier, and do you set expectations for yourself and or the kids?
The only expectations I have is fun. It's gonna be fun, and this applies to everything I do in life. It's gonna be fun or I ain't gonna do it.
Right.
I ain't gonna be there long. It's I I may look like Santa Claus, but I'm a 5-year-old kid waiting on Santa Claus, and that's every day is how I'm as happy as I can be the moment my eyes will open up because the good Lord has blessed me with another day, and I will never be any happier than I am when my feet hit the floor.
Yeah.
So everything after that is I'm looking for the next fun thing to do. And I not irresponsibly, I have work that's not fun that I do, but I'm gonna make it fun. So, the first thing it's gotta be for a kid has got to be fun. And I think you have to have the mindset and you have to make your mind up when you leave the house that it ain't about you, it ain't about hunting, it's about spending time with that kid, and I will say that to ad nauseum. It's got to be about the little people because what you s the deal what you said your mantra or whatever it is you called that for your mission statement about mentorship,
Yep.
that is brother, that is a 100% true, and we having our children, we've got the best students in the world
Mm.
because they can see us every day, the examples we set every day from going to the mailbox to going to work to going to ball games to how we treat people in the grocery store that can be applied to how we treat wildlife and how we respect it. And anything that that we love and that we respect, we're going to take care of. That's the reason people go out there. They can say what they want to about planting food plots, about killing deer and whatever. They plant food plots because they love those animals. Because they ain't going to kill every deer that comes into that food plot. There's going to be turkeys come in there. There's going to be songbirds come in there and eat. There's going to be every imaginable critter out there. have a benefit off of one man's or one lady's passion for hunting deer, and it's going to benefit all everything out there.
Mhm.
And if you get when I have my kids out there, that's what I always tell them. We're putting some corn out here for deer, or we're planting this food plot here for deer. But guess what? Rabbits are going to come out here. Coons are going to come through here and eat. Uh, whatever. Coyotes are going to come through and eat the rabbits. This it's a big circle. It's a big circle, and it's a big community, and we should be a part of that. All these creatures I preach to my kids from the time they could understand when they ask when they're little and they want to know why you kill a deer. Well, these deer and these animals and these fish were put here for us to use. It's 100% my belief the good Lord entrusted us with. He gifted these animals to us, or they wouldn't taste so good if he didn't. But we've also got to be responsible and respect that gift enough to take care of them and to do it right. And to do it right, we got to train them from when they're little. And
Mhm.
I'm not talking about indoctrinate them. I'm talking about give them the lessons and let them choose. I'm not going to preach to my kid, you know, you got to hunt, you got to do this, and you got to skin your own fish, and you got to go out here. If you're going to be a Reeves, you're going to be a part of this family. You got to kill game. No, you ain't got to do nothing of that. But you got to respect the folks that do,
Mm.
and this is why.
Yeah.
And I give them that explanation.
In the Bible, it says, train up a child in the way they should go, and when they're old, they will not depart from it. Right.
Exactly.
And so I always talk about, you know, not everyone needs to be a hunter, but everyone needs to be supporting of hunting.
Oh, 100%. And I wish that a lot of folks would quit. It'd be easier for me.
Right. Less competition, right? Like,
Exactly. I don't need the competition, man.
yeah. Um, it's such a fascinating thing, right? Where we want to raise up critical thinkers, independent minds, and we hope as fathers that our children will like to do the same things that we do.
Yeah.
I had my father. I did everything that he did. I was his little mini me. And there's a lot of things that I wish I would have done in my childhood that I didn't do because my dad didn't do it.
Right.
And so my wife, she's always like, "Are you making the kids do that because you're living out some dream that you wanted to do?" And I'm like, I'm like, "No, because I really believe that the skill is important for them." Yeah, I'm not even just talking about hunting. I'm just talking about like
Yeah.
anything at this point. It's
Right.
like,
Right. Right.
no, I'd rather have them have the knowledge, uh, and then decide. Right?
Mhm.
I've only heard people in the South ever say it, where it's like, I know it because I lived it, right? Everyone
Yeah.
has opinion. Very few people have perspectives, and perspectives come with experiences.
Right. Yeah,
And
that's right.
and it just blows me away every time. Just
I take my oldest daughter, Amy, for instance.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. As a thank you, I got more discount codes for all of you. If you are in the market for anything in regards to calls, whether it's elk calls, turkey calls, deer, or predator calls, you can save 15% on all Rocky Mountain hunting calls by using the code Soul Seekers. That's all one word. And if you're in the market for hard side hydration, a better way to hydrate, go check out hardsidehydration.com. Use the code SoulSeekers10 to save 10%. And we also have a discount at Graxaw.com. Graxaw is the leader in ultralight game bags and other backcountry gear. Light, fast, and efficient is their motto. Use the code SoulSeekers, all one word, to save 10% at checkout.
She was, I think she was 16 before she said, "Daddy, I want to go deer hunting with you, and I want to shoot a deer." First time ever. I'm like, "Okay, let's go." Well, I teach her how to shoot, or she shoots. She already knows how to shoot a rifle or whatever. So we go out there and we get in the deer stand, and 30 minutes after daylight, a deer walks out. She shoots and misses it. she looks at me and she's kinda sad, and I'm like, "Don't worry, there'll be another doe in a minute," and in a minute there was, and she walked out, and I just said, "Aim, breathe, and squeeze," and she did, and she killed it, and she was so happy, and has never done it again.
Yeah.
She wanted to do it, and she did it, and of course, now I'll go ahead and tell you, girls are different. I didn't make her skin anything on it because she was like, I said, "You want to help?" And she's like, "I really don't want to." And I'm like, "Okay." She could make me eat dirt out of the road, and she probably knows that if she ever decided to, she could. But anyway, but that she decided she wanted to do it, and she did it. And once she did it, she wasn't sad that she didn't. She was proud that she did it, but that checked the box for her,
Yeah.
you know, and I didn't say, "Well, now you gotta go back. Now you gotta do it again." No, it's up to her. It's up to them.
Where you're from in Arkansas, is hunting just a way of life for people down
Yeah.
there? Like, you don't meet many people that don't eat deer or don't
No. No, you wouldn't, man. When I was in high school, I graduated high school in Warren, Arkansas in 1984, and they still let out, the first Monday of deer season, school was out.
Mm,
My principal, if you were late to school, but you could bring your, hunting license where you had tagged a deer and notched it out,
you were
that
good.
was an that was an excuse tardy because you were checking a deer, skinning a deer. Yeah, absolutely. And you see that, in the parking lot. I drove when I bought a 1973 Ford pickup. I had a gun rack. I had a 22 and a Browning Auto 5 shotgun and a gun rack in the back glass of my truck in the parking lot, and I wasn't the only one, and
Yeah.
that was at school. I mean, it was not an uncommon thing, and yeah, it was everybody. There was more it was an anomaly if somebody didn't hunt, really,
Hmm.
you know?
Being from the Northwest, it's hunting is more taboo than anything. And I will say that Western hunting, when you only get one tag and your chances of seeing an animal that is legal are much more slim,
Yeah.
right? You know,
Oh, yeah.
unless you're experienced to a high extent where
Sure.
you're consistently getting on them. Um, it's so fascinating now moving in down to Texas, and not everyone hunts in Texas, right?
No, that's
And
right.
that's something that I'm learning quickly. However, even if they don't hunt, they know somebody that does, or
Oh, yeah.
they do have venison in their freezer, and
Yeah.
it's just a really fascinating because here I was living in the Northwest with, you know, we as humans, we only see the world through our small, narrow little viewpoint. You know, it's
Mhm.
like, oh, this is how people treat me. This is how I treat them. This is the things I like. Do they like them? Where's my tribe? And, and you could look at the politics of the state of Washington and how there's some major issues with the fish and game department and some
Yeah, I've seen some of that.
I'm gonna just say is some criminal activity breaking the law of stuff. And there's no wonder in the Northwest that it's getting attacked because it's not a culture of like, yeah, man, if you didn't hunt, that was weird.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. It was, I mean, it was just, people ask me about it all the time, like, when I was in basic training and the first time I was around a lot of people that didn't grow up like I did was in Fort Sill, Oklahoma, and I remember a guy from Pittsburgh and one from Boston, and we were tight, and we were at the rifle range up there, and we were walking from one point to another without a drill sergeant around us. They had sent us to do something, so we actually had a little time where we could talk and look at things. And we were walking down this sandy road, and there was coyote tracks in there, and there was some coyote scat right in the middle of it. Now, anybody from the side where I grew up see where a coyote crapped in the road, they would know exactly what that was. What it looked like. It's full of rabbit hair and everything else. And anybody would say when they walk by it, "Oh, a coyote crapped in the road." and just keep walking. Well, that's what I did. And those 2 clowns, one of them was they from Pittsburgh and one from Boston. They're like, "What? What'd you see back there?" And I said, That scat right back there, that's a coyote did that." And they're like, "There ain't no way you can tell what that is. I mean, we all know what that is, but you don't know what made that right there." And I'm like, "Yeah, dude, look at these tracks right here." And I showed them the tracks, and then I pointed, and they said, "Well, what's in that?" And I said, "Well, that's rabbit hair. That's what they eat, and, it's a big part of their diet." And that boy from Boston looked at me and he said, "Reeves, was your daddy Tarzan? I don't know how you know all this stuff." And it was amazing for him that I knew that, but it was amazing to me that he didn't.
Right.
I didn't understand why he didn't know that. Now that same fella, who I absolutely love to death, told me the biggest piece of grass that he ever laid his eyes on until he went in service was a football field where
Mm.
he played ball in high school.
Yeah.
Everything else was concrete.
Hmm.
So, t in a roundabout way, where I grew up, it was more common to know those kind of things because it was just the culture, you know?
Yeah.
It was the culture and that community, and not the community that we the town, but the community of people in that part of the world.
Do you think that makes people more grateful? Like, there's a reason why it's
Like how?
called the Bible Belt, right? Like this idea of small town, rural living, getting out of
Mhm.
the concrete jungle, just being grateful for the things in which you have that are being enough to sustain you.
Yeah, I mean, sure, and a lot of people that grow up there had sense enough to see it while they were there,
Hmm.
that this is good, this is wholesome, this is pure, it doesn't get any better than this. Unfortunately, a lot of folks couldn't stay there and make a living. The small family farm went away, and when it went away, a lot of, the jobs went with it, and it's a precious, precious memory of mine that I got to stay there as long as I did, because I hadn't lived in South Arkansas now for, oh gosh, 25 years,
Hmm.
or more, and it's absolutely home for me, or that place for me. I mean, I'm unbelievably happy where I am now, but in a perfect world, I would have all the people that I have around me now, and we would all be there,
Yeah.
in that place. But that's just, and I'm sure there's, that's not unusual. A lot of people are like that, but there is something special about growing up in a place where if I was acting up a mile from my home, somebody could somebody else's mama would snatch me up and warm me up. Or I can understand, like those boys, that boy from Boston, he that I was at Fort Sill with. He had a wonderful childhood. It was just different, you know. And I'm sure that he looks at the place he grew up and how he grew up as a great thing.
Hmm.
It's a blessing to him. Had I grown up where he had, it may have been the same to me. I would think, we're products of our community, I think. Um, but there's just so I just can't imagine my life not being the way it was,
Yeah.
not growing up anywhere else. I think there would be a I mean, it's just so hard to say, to put any really validity to it. I mean, how can you miss something you never had? But I had that same feeling about growing up when I was growing up about killing an elk with a bow. I
Mm.
thought, man, that would be the greatest feeling ever. And 11 years ago, I did that and I was right. So, you know, maybe you have some kind of intrinsic value in something and that you can kind of see where I don't know. It's hard for me to explain. It's hard for me to explain the feeling that I have about. where I grew up and the importance that it has played in my life in forming who I am.
Mhm.
And it's taken a while for me to get the layers peeled off to the good one, the one that people kind of like. So, but it's all because of that. I think
Yeah.
it's just it's hard to explain. It's really hard for me to put in words. I would hate for somebody to give me an assignment to say, tell me what growing up like you did is like in 1,500 words. I absolutely don't know that I could do it.
Yeah.
Or I might be able to sum it up in three, that it was family and it was faith and it was good.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
that may be the best explanation that I could do.
I love it. Did you ever have anything that pulled you away from the outdoors that kinda became larger than your love for the wild?
No, no, I mean, no, I want folks to know that, excuse me, I want folks to know that the first thing I am is a Christian. The second thing I am is a husband, and then I'm a father, and then I'm a friend, and I'm a brother. And then way down the list somewhere, it starts that I'm a hunter and
Mm.
a fisherman. Because all those things, if the last thing that I was known as is a hunter, I think I would have failed my mission to humanity and to my savior and to my family.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there is there's been gaps in a particular, like my coon hunting. I wasn't able to do that because of my job in law enforcement. I just didn't have the time to invest in a dog that needs to be hunted 3 or 4 nights a week to train. I couldn't do that.
Mhm.
So that pulled me away from that aspect for about 26 years. I didn't coon hunt other than with, friends that had dogs occasionally, but I didn't have one of my own. Th But that is the only thing that has pulled me away from any of it, because I always made time to be able to do it, outdoor stuff after I took care of my family, and spent time with them. And if they wanted to go, that mean I was killing 2 birds with 1 stone right there.
Right.
I just take them with me. So, but that's as far as anything else ever taking me away, absolutely not.
It's so interesting. I've got so many topics that I want to branch off in regards to our conversation right now. But the first one I'm going to start with is this idea at home for now. I come from Western hunting. Here I am in
Mhm.
Texas, where my lease that I'm going to be picking up is only a half hour away from my home. That's a
Nice.
that's a game changer, right? So this idea of this epic adventure of like, oh, we're going to be gone for 4 days, 5 days. I might not have cell service. We'll send you a satellite communication message.
Yeah, in reach.
There's this idea of that primal adventure that we're going on some grand storytelling moment, and then you talking about, yeah, if you want to come, and we'll go out on a night and we'll be back. And how that all ties into what you're saying is that hunter being a hunter is down the line of your
Mhm,
of your priorities. Is
mhm.
that in Western hunting, I learned very quickly that if everything is not good on the home front, you better not be leaving the house,
Yeah.
because that is priority number one. And if mama ain't happy,
Ain't
ain't
nobody
nobody
happy.
happy.
You got that right.
It's a different ball game, I feel like, down here when, you're only gone for a half a day, a day. You could be gone longer, but it's a different
Sure.
style down here.
Yeah, and it's something like, and my wife, God bless her, Alexis Suzanne, they I never knew happiness till I met this lady.
Mm,
And she has always been, and, I said that she was a city mouse and had never been exposed to it. She has always been 100% supportive of the things that I do and hunting, even though she's tried bear meat, she's tried deer meat, and she absolutely closed her eyes and tried a squirrel one time just because she loves me. But she ain't about it. She don't mind. She don't. She's 100% supporting what I do, and I don't think I don't know how it would work. Now she's obviously more valuable and more. I would pick her over anything, any other type of anything.
Mhm.
I would pick her, but because of the respect and the passion that I have for it, and she's recognized that, and she doesn't tell me what to do, and I don't tell her what to do,
Mhm.
but she supports that, and this coon dog that she claims and that I hunt, she'll say, "That dog is he's got some energy he needs to burn off. Why don't you go coon hunting tonight?" Now, how many people do you think in the history of marriage has had their wife say, "You ought to take that dog and go hunt tonight." And I'm like, "Okay, I think I will. I'll leave at 9 o'clock and come in at 2:30 and wake you up, but I'm gonna and trying to be quiet, but I'm gonna do it." Now I'm telling you, that lady she's something special.
Yeah.
But the hunting close to the house, down here, growing up, it was you go out the back door and you hunt on the farm, or if you lived in town, you drove 20 minutes to your friend's farm and you
Mhm.
went hunting. So yeah, it does change a lot, a big dynamic on it. You don't have to pack a bag of groceries for 7 days and put them in your pack and in a compass and take off.
Right.
You know, I know where I'm gonna be, and on your lease, you're gonna be in the same way. Well, I'm just gonna turn left up there at that old stump and walk down to the creek, and that's where I'm gonna be because that's what I've always done. You
Right.
know, you ain't gonna have to depend on a satellite to get you back to the truck. Get you back to the truck.
What's it like with this dynamic of hunting being such a selfish act, but then for it to truly last for generations, you have to give it away. You have to be selfless through our selfishness.
Mhm. I think it all comes with age. When I was young, uh, and we're in the decoys and we're calling ducks, I'm absolutely setting on go. I want to be the first one to shoot, and I want to shoot them all. And and I think it's just natural for anybody. And I've seen it with grown folks that were new to it, and I've seen it with grown folks that've been hunting their whole life and they never got out of that stage. It's a maturity to me. I can't remember, and I can't remember who wrote it, but there's a diagram of stages of hunting,
Oh yeah.
where
Yeah.
I'm sure you're familiar with it, and probably everybody listening to this is familiar with it.
Yeah.
But it's so true. It's so
Can
true about how.
just for a second, can you share it? I mean, I don't want to assume anything. This is a great diagram. I haven't talked about it anytime recent, but if
Let me
I
look it up.
so the beginning stages of a hunter is if it flies, it dies. If it's brown, it's down. And then once they kind of hit that like check mark of like, okay, I'm starting to kill animals, I get it, then they'll start holding out for the maturity of an animal and a
Yeah,
representation of a class of that
yeah.
of that animal, and then it gets to a point where they don't even have to squeeze the trigger, they want to watch other people have that joy.
Yeah, it's like, and I just looked it up here, the limiting out stage, the trophy stage, the method stage, and then the sportsman stage. And that is so true, when I was as I was just talking when I was a kid, it was, "Man, we gotta fill the boat." If the fish are biting, we gotta load it up. If the
Yeah.
ducks are flying, we gotta kill them all. We gotta get them, to the limit to the all the law will allow us. And then it's, "Okay, I don't wanna just kill I just don't wanna fill all my deer tags on, basket racks. I want to kill a bigger deer.
Hmm.
And then you go to the, okay, well, now I've killed them with my rifle. Now I want to kill them with a bow, or I want to do them with a traditional bow. And then you get back then to the sportsman where you're more enjoying the just being out there or watching somebody else do it. Now, I got a taste of watching somebody else do it a lot younger than a lot of folks do because I was a guide for a long time.
Mm.
And I got to see grown folks and kids come out, and I was calling ducks and they were shooting them. And watching that, it just parlayed into everything else that I did. Then I started filming and I was calling turkeys up for folks, and I was watching them shoot them, filming them shoot them, but I was telling them when to do it. So it was more or less like I was pulling the trigger,
Hmm.
you know? So I got to see all that stuff and see the importance of it and watch the joy out of somebody else get. And then I thought back, now I know what my dad was doing. He was watching me do that. He was watching me enjoy it. And that's what made him so happy because I was wondering, I'm like, Dad, we've killed nine squirrels today, and you ain't shot one yet. And you're just as happy as I am. And it was like, you'll figure it out one day.
Yeah.
And I did, man. And it's absolutely wonderful. It's like doing it all over again yourself. It's like watching somebody kill the first deer or my daughter finding the first coon, the dog tree when she found it herself. It was just like I did it. It's just like me being a kid and doing it again.
Yeah.
And it's, we didn't kill that coon. We didn't kill a coon all night. We just treeing them and letting them go, and that wasn't about it. I was thinking today about a project that we're doing for Meat Eater, and it was about uh, stories about turkey stories, turkey hunting, and I could think of several stories where I walked out in the woods, I heard a turkey gobble, I sat down, I called, the turkey came in and killed him. Boom. I mean, it was just bam, 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 and it was over with. But when they asked me to think about some stories to tell, that was like number 90 on the list. The ones I immediately thought of were the ones that were a struggle,
Hmm.
that I had to swim a creek to him, or he came in, then he left, or I hunted him and I killed him that afternoon, or it took me a week to kill him, or I never killed him, the one that got away.
Right.
Those
Right.
were always the ones that had that I thought of first because it should be hard. It should be a struggle. It should be something that we value enough to put in the effort to because we value it because it's good,
Yeah.
and it's just amazing to me, really.
Well, in as history shows us, if you value something, you put time into it,
Yep,
right?
you'll
If you
protect it.
if
Yeah.
you don't value it, you don't put time into it, such as a
Mhm,
father and a child. You don't
mhm.
value that child, you ain't gonna be putting time into him,
Yeah,
or and as brash as that sounds, that's a big reality, especially being a
sure.
school teacher. And I work currently in what's called the DAEP. So it's like the alternative school. I got a metal detector. A lot of kids are wearing ankle monitors.
Mhm.
Had kids, walked out in handcuffs out of our school to no windows building with 4 classrooms, and students stay in their desk all day and teachers rotate because
Oh,
they're
wow.
not allowed. A good day is when I don't talk to students, not because I don't want to build relationships, but because they need so much structure, and let's just work on that Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right?
Right.
Food,
I got you.
shelter, and then that sense of belonging or safety. The point being is that you ask these kids, raise your hand. How many of you have a parent or a relative in jail or prison? Majority of their hands go up. How many of you come from single family or single parent homes? All of their
Mhm.
hands go up.
Yeah.
And all these, the list can go on, but the point is like, if you don't value something, you're not going to invest in it, right? whether
Yeah.
it be a human, whether it be your job, whether it be your hobbies, your passion. Shoot, even your home. You don't value your home, you're gonna let it go, and it's gonna all of a sudden be a big mess down the line. So the biggest thing that we can do is to invest in the things that we love.
Yeah.
And you said that you are a Christian first and foremost. And God says that He says, love God and love man.
Mhm.
And my mission of mentorship as conservation is me loving man through the blessings in which He's given me. Because ultimately, what mentorship is just loving someone. It's just
Oh, yeah.
it's just investing into somebody else. And
Time, man. Time
time.
is so easy.
Yeah. Right. I had a message on Instagram today from somebody who was like, "Man, thanks for the podcast that you put out, blah blah blah. I always hear people talking about how to kill these animals, but no one ever does a podcast on, okay, the animal's down, now what?" Right? Like how long can it hang? How quickly do you got to get it out? And this is coming from a Western big game standpoint, right? Where
Right.
you could be deep and all that. And I was like, here's my cell phone number. Call me.
Yeah.
Let's set up a time
Sure.
to chat. And instead of me recording a podcast, you can take notes and we'll have a conversation. Any question you want, I'll answer. You
Yeah.
know, uh,
Yeah, I was listening. It reminded me of I was listening to one of your podcasts, and I can't remember the guy that was on there, but they were hunting buffalo, and he was
oh,
like 9 miles deep, and he saw this magnificent buffalo, and he would think it was him and like 3 or f 2 or 3 other guys with him.
uh,
He's like, "Man, we if we could make a stalk on it, we could kill him, but we couldn't get him out of here before,
right.
it was bad." And I was like, "Man, that cat right there has got his stuff together
Yeah.
because he's thinking about the end game,
Yep.
and that's not wasting it." And that was awesome. I enjoyed that one. It's one of my favorite ones.
I appreciate that. I'm honored that you took the time to listen to the episode, brother.
Oh, yeah.
That means a lot. I really appreciate that. Talk to me a little bit about this coon life. Raccoons, not everyone understands them or even understands the whole purpose of, like, how could that be a passion? Like, oh man, let's go tree a coon. Um, Ironically, we, up in the Northwest call them trash pandas because they're always in the trash in the cities. And
Yeah.
I was camping up at Broken Bow in Oklahoma this summer, and I caught a panda in one of a raccoon, a
You
raccoon.
sure that was Oklahoma?
Yeah, right. Literally in a dumpster. I saw it crawl in. Uh,
Yeah.
the lid fell down. Everything. I was like, no way. Like, picturesque. How does this obsession come about? What is so fascinating about it? Explain it.
Well well, it was another thing that people did where I grew up. You know, it, most folks had a good squirrel dog, and as it was the end of the popularity, or not the popularity of bird hunting, but the kind of end of us having enough quail to hunt where I grew up. So, but most people when I was a youngster had a good squirrel dog. They had a bird dog that was good, and they had a coon dog, or a combination thereof. Not everybody did everything. Some folks just did one or the other. But you could, if somebody was hunting down there, I mean, you couldn't swing a dead cat without hitting somebody that had one of those kinds of dogs, and we had all of them.
Hmm.
So it was another thing that I did, and when I was, um, I guess in the 6th grade, and I told a story about this on my podcast. I had read the book Where the Red Fern Grows,
Mm-hmm.
and so I had to have a coon dog, and my dad said, "Well, fine, get the money and you can have it." And I thought, "Dang, I guess he read this book too. He ain't I gotta pay for it myself." So so I worked, but I went to school and I took a jar up there and I put a note on it on the outside of it and put it on my desk, and it was donate to Brent's Coon Dog Fund. I got 1 quarter out of that deal. And the girl that dropped it in there, you need to listen to this story. It's pretty good. Her name was Amy, and she dropped that quarter in there, and I told her, I said, "I thank you. If I ever have a daughter, I'm gonna name her Amy." And
Oh,
she laughed at me. My oldest daughter's name is Amy.
no way.
Yep. But anyway, uh, that it was just I just have a passion. My dad was a big squirrel dog man, and we had squirrel dogs that, and one in particular, old Peanut, was a mountain cur.
Mm,
He's a bobtail mountain cur, and he was famous all over the land down there. And I've always said that, my dad had 3 sons, but his favorite he actually had 4. His favorite son's name was Peanut. And so having tree dogs was just something that we did, and it's just such a joy to watch a dog from a puppy that you raised turn into or morph into, follow the genetic code that he has, that he can't deny, that he's gotta chase an animal and tree it,
mm,
you know? And it was just on the Meat Eater podcast last week, we had a lady on there talking, Angela Perry was her name, and she is down in Texas. She's a professor down at Texas A&M, and she did a big study on dire wolves, and which I was totally unaware of until because I ain't never seen that show, Game of Thrones, and apparently they have wolves in
the
that.
dire wolves, yeah.
Yeah, well, I ain't never seen that show, but anyway, she had a was an expert on it. It was very interesting, and she was asking me questions about coon dogs, and you know, every dog that we have now is a descendant of wolves, all of them. And having a wolf, I mean, having a dog chase something, that's prey drive. That's their natural instinct to chase some food.
Mhm,
To have them bark while they do it is absolutely ridiculous because they're telling the game where they're at.
mhm,
If they were going to eat something, they'd want to be quiet. So it was very unique to me where you could have a dog that would smell something, that one thing in particular that you wanted him to go after, that being a coon in my case, or a squirrel in the squirrel dog case, and chase it and bark it up a tree, him it up a tree where it would stay there until you got there, and he be satisfied by not eating it. Because I'm either going to shoot that coon and take it home and skin it, or I'm going to pat that dog on the head and we're going to leave and go tree another one.
mhm,
His only reward is knowing that he pleased you. And the dog's inherent desires have always been feed the guy, please the guy that's feeding them,
mhm, mhm.
and that's how you train them. You don't train them with a stick. You train them with a biscuit. I mean, that's and praise. That's the way to do it. So that bond, we always had dogs, and the bond that I have with those dogs, and going out and doing that. I mean, good gosh, who couldn't like that? It's
Yeah.
just, I mean, if you don't mind walking. But I don't walk a whole lot now. I got a side by side, and we drive to the tree. So when you come up here to go hunting, don't worry about your shoes. You can go in flip flops if you want to.
Yeah. Well, I hunt in Birkenstocks.
There you
I'm not a
go.
flip flop guy. I killed my
Well,
very
I don't know
first.
what that is either, but you can bring them too.
Yes. See, this is why I'm a reverse pioneer, Mr. Reeves. In history, it's always go west, young man. Manifest destiny. We got that.
Yeah,
Something greater out there, and I'm going the other
yeah,
direction. Like, hey,
yeah.
what?
Go southeast.
Yeah, right. Oh my gosh, this is awesome. So, when is coon season for you guys in Arkansas?
It's year round here in Arkansas, and the kill season on private land is year round.
Mm,
Now on public ground, it stops from, I want to think, maybe the 1st of March to the end of June on, and there's some restrictions further on other public areas. There's a lot of public hunting in Arkansas, but on private ground, It's year round, and the reason that is we have so many coons. It's just unbelievable. They are, I mean, they'll get so populated in the area that they'll get distemper and they'll just start dying, and once they get distemper, then they'll spread it to dogs and everything else. But the biggest problem is nest predation on turkeys and quail. So we got to knock the game of fishes wanting us to knock the populations back. And I hunt with a friend of mine, and we hunt on a 10,000-acre farm up on the White River. And in the last 4, gosh, I don't know, 5 5 or 6 years, I bet we've taken 1,500 coons off of that farm.
Wow.
And last night we went o I hunted, night before last, and we treed 4 coons, pretty quick and come to the house, and we didn't shoot any of them, but we shoot them during the when their hides are good. But they want you to shoot them year round just to kinda knock them back, and it's a it's a price we have paid because of the anti-hunting that has put pressure on trapping and the sale of fur.
Mm.
If the fur market was still what it was back when I was a kid growing up, we wouldn't be having these problems now. So, I mean, I run a trap line before school. I had, when I was the only kid I knew in the 7th grade that trapped. I mean, I'd go to the first sale. I'm 12, 13 years old, and I got $700 in the bank, and it's all because I was running traps and shooting coons out from over the top of a coon dog.
Mhm.
I mean, it's a good way to make money. That's
Right.
$25 a hide, and back then, for a decent coon, you could get 25 bucks. Now, an extra large coon sale in Arkansas, you'd be lucky to get $1.50 for them.
Wow. That's not
Yeah,
fleshed out. You're talking just rawhide? Or
yeah.
is that okay, yeah.
Mhm.
That's a shame. Man,
So, I mean, I kill them now and skin them, and I save the skins, much to my wife's dismay. They're in the freezer, and then I have them tanned out, and I give them as gifts. I got them here at the house. I sell the meat to lots of folks that like to eat them, and
what do you think of coon meat?
I like it. It's fine. I like it smoked, and a smoker is pretty good. I mean, you can put barbecue sauce on anything and it'd be all right if the barbecue sauce is good. And that's the way a lot of folks eat it. They'll slow cook it in a slow cooker, with
Right.
sweet potatoes or something like that, or make barbecue like you would pork or something.
Yeah.
But I like it. I like it all right.
Man.
Alexis, not a big fan.
No. I think, coons are tough animals. They're
Oh, they absolutely are. They are absolutely resilient and they can live anywhere. They're cool creatures. We had a pet coon for a while. Another thing my wife told me, I heard my my wife say one time, uh, she actually made it on a Facebook post. And it was, I got this coon when it was about 4, 5, 6 weeks old. It was abandoned. Somebody tore down this house and they found this baby coon in there. The mama had left. They took it to a vet friend of mine, and I told her if she that spring, I said, "You ever get a coon, I want it." And she's like, "Okay." Well, she brought it to the house one day, and my wife wasn't home, so when she got home, I had a baby coon, and she, she told my little girl was 5 then. Bailey was 5, and she played with that thing out in the yard. She named it Buster, and she played with that coon. They'd run, chase one another out in the front yard, and people were driving by and driving off the road, looking at it like, "What is going on at this guy's house?" And I remember my wife saying it started raining, and Bailey and Buster were out in the front yard running up and down the sidewalk. And she said things that I never thought I would say was, "Bailey, get your coon and let's go in. It's starting to rain." She said, "I never thought I would ever put that sentence together."
Oh,
but I did.
man.
Here I am.
So did you guys end up having Buster a long time?
We kept Buster a few months, and he got a little cantankerous with my little girl. So before it got, you know, he got hurt or she hurt him,
Mhm.
I mean he hurt her. I just started leaving his cage open, and he finally just
Yeah.
did his thing. Yeah,
Yep. Yeah, which was straight to your trash can to
probably.
to go
Yeah.
to go pillage it. The idea of opposable thumbs is fascinating with coons, and the if no one's ever seen a dog-proof coon trap,
Oh
like,
yeah.
fascinating.
Yeah, they are something. They're fun, man. It was fun to watch. I would watch that coon. I have a water hose. I just turn it on where it was just running out a little bit, and that little rascal would get over there where that water was coming out. And I'm for the folks that's listening, I'm rubbing my hands like you would washing your hands in the sink. That's what he would do. He'd just rub his hands back and forth. He'd pick up something, and they think that I've read that their hands being moist, they're not washing it. It makes their uh, sensory receptors more adept at feeling whatever they're doing, and because of a lot of the stuff that they're picking up out of the water, and they're doing it at night, it helps them identify something as food and not by being able to do that.
Interesting. I was always
Hmm.
told that they always like to have really clean hands before
Yeah,
they
no,
eat.
that's not it. No, they're filthy.
Oh, man. So what adventures you got going on this fall?
Oh, well, me and my buddy Clay Newcomb, we got a big adventure coming up. I can tell you about it off the air. I can't put it out right now. I can tell you about it then, but we're gonna do we're gonna be lots of coon hunting and just bow hunting. I'm looking forward to that. That'll be here soon. Our bear season in Arkansas opens up this year on I think it's the 13th of September. That's the earliest it's ever opened,
Mhm.
and it's key in Arkansas to if you're hunting over bait to get to be hunting before the acorns start dropping because
Once they hit
uh,
the ground, your
it's
bait's
over.
worthless. Yeah.
Oh yeah, a bear will climb over a mound of donuts to eat one acorn. And
Acorn.
no, I don't. We don't have those
Acorn?
here.
No.
That they grow those in Washington. You need to remember why you came down here.
That's right. Acorn.
Acorn. And anybody that says hunting bait, hunting a bear over bait, there is not hunting. They're wrong. It's the best, absolute best way to conserve the younger bears, the female bears, and go for the older boars. It's 100%.
Yeah.
Whole lot easier. And they're good, man. They're so good to eat.
Mm.
They're good.
Just real quick, since you brought that up, like, what's your speech or talk when someone says hunting anything over bait isn't hunting? Like this whole idea of setting out a corn feeder in Texas, because I put out, you know, I want to do it right. I put out a social
Mhm.
media post yesterday. I was like, all right, I got a deer lease. Now what? I'm going to be doing a
Mhm.
podcast series on this because it's not just about blasting every animal. If I'm supposed to be conservation minded and I want to
Yeah.
grow deer and I want to let, the property stay healthy and invite more
Mhm.
animals in, I got to do it
Mhm.
right. So it's not just set out a corn feeder, sit in a blind and just blast.
Yep.
What's your go to when talking about that?
My take on that, I used to do it. I used to have feeders, and I used to put corn out. I hunted in Kansas. I had a lease in Kansas, and I put corn on the ground and put a fence around it and to keep the cows out
Hmm.
and so the deer could jump the fence and eat it, and I didn't have a problem with it. CWD thing, it's got to where concentrating deer in one area, it's I can see where that would be a problem, passing, disease along from one deer to another that wouldn't naturally be piled up in one specific place.
Hmm.
So I don't do that anymore. I don't put corn out like that anymore. But I'm not against anybody who does because It's legal. If it's legal to do it and you're following the letter of the law and you wanna hunt that way, I have to support that guy. I can't be against him hunting legally just because it's something that I don't do. And whether or not I like it or whether I agree with it is immaterial. Because if we're not we're small. Used to be everybody hunted. Now, w I told you about when I grew up, you asked me, "Did everybody hunt?"
Hmm.
Yeah, a large percentage of them do. You go down to that community now, I bet that percentage has gone down a whole lot
Hmm.
from what it used to be. So, if our numbers are getting smaller, the last thing we wanna do is divide teams up. We gotta do this thing together, and if I don't like somebody chasing bears with dogs, which I'm 100% for. But say I wasn't like that, I couldn't be against them hunting bears with dogs because it's legal. Because if I start supporting the folks that are against that, the next thing those folks are gonna do is come after the way I wanna do it,
Right.
you know? So it's man, it's silly. I see social media, it's if it probably wasn't a part of my job to help promote the stuff that I'm doing, I don't think I'd do it, because I try to make it social media because it is antisocial if you ask me. Because
Hmm.
some of the best things in the world you look at and some guy or some person will get on there and say something that is absolutely ridiculous. And if I was talking to a fellow the other day and I said, somebody will rudely correct me, if I make a mistake on something. And I said, the guy that comes up with the app called the Slap app, where if somebody does something, I can push a button and the phone will slap somebody for saying something ugly. That's the guy that's gonna make $1,000,000. And it was that fella's idea to call it he said, "We could call it the slap app." And I'm like, "Man, I like it."
I,
I like it.
I told my wife one time, I feel like I don't know if I should let this out of the box because I feel like it's a gem. There's a book that needs to be written by me at some point that is called Rude, Stupid, and Ugly. Humanity's categories, and everyone falls into one of them at some point in time. You're either rude, stupid, or ugly, and the worst
Yeah.
is if you're multiple.
Oh, yeah. Any combination of that is a bad deal.
Oh man. Well, brother, thank you so much for coming on the show. Thanks for donating your time to being a
Oh,
guest on the
gosh.
Soul Seekers podcast, brother. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's been a joy, man. I can sit here and do this all what are you doing tomorrow?
Shoot, I got time. Let's hang out. No, but truly honored, humbled that you are, willing. I mean, well, here we go. We're talking about social media and the Slap app and all this stuff,
Mhm,
but that's how you and
mhm.
I connected,
Oh,
right?
100%. Yeah.
It's you use what you got.
Yeah,
And
that's how me and, my friend and your friend David McDaniels connected was through that,
yeah.
and there's good things for it. There's a lot of good, and I hear from so many good people and, families that listen to my podcast, the This Country Life podcast, and it absolutely builds a fire into me to do more of them. And it's so enjoyable to have people that that'll send me a message and say, "Man, we listen to your podcast every Friday night at supper with at the family." And I thought, "Holy cow, now that's something." I had a lady or a guy send me a message the other day that I did a two-part series on having manners, and she was a school teacher, and she made a curriculum around those 2 podcasts and was playing it for her students.
Wow.
And I thought, "Man, it's just unbelievable."
Yeah.
And so I'm very proud of the fact that, you can listen to it on the way to church, or you can listen to it in church, or you can listen to it with your kids, and there's nothing gonna be harmful in it because there's a lot more folks that appreciate that kind of stuff than I thought,
Yeah.
because the response has been really good. So
I hear you. I for the longest time being a school teacher and having a podcast, I was like, oh man, I don't want any cussing or foul language on my
Mhm,
podcast because I don't want my school, my children from students listening and hearing that.
mhm.
Um, and at the end of the day, I really had to gut check myself because now, granted, you and I weren't dropping any F bombs on this episode or whatever, but I still keep the explicit tag on my podcast specifically because I don't want to censor people. I'm a huge believer in the Constitution and the ability of
Oh,
free
yeah.
speech. And you ever seen the movie Gettysburg?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know the Irishman, the old Irishman in that movie at the beginning. He's like, that man, he knew more fine cuss words than you know.
Yeah.
They're like, there's a time and a place for just the emphasis to be on the right syllable. It really makes a difference.
Get your point across.
Yep, exactly. So, anyways, brother, how can people find you? Where can they check out your podcast at?
Oh, my podcast is called This Country Life. It's on the Bear Grease feed of the Meat Eater Network. It comes out every Friday. And on the Instagram, it's Brent, Brent_Reaves. And Reeves is correctly spelled Reaves.
I love it. I love it. Well, guys, go check out This Country Life featuring Brent Reaves, spelt correctly, and make sure you tune in. I mean, I'm already going to be diving into his Manners podcast and playing that for my children. We had a good talk the other night at dinner table about what manners are at the table. So
Yeah. Yeah.
always a
Get the
good time.
heathens out of there.
That's right. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode. If you have any podcast topics that you are interested in hearing, go ahead and shoot us a message. But also go check out a new episode of Soul Seekers. Episode 3 is dropping here in the month of August. And go check it out. Give us a rating. 5-star rating is awesome. Go check out This Country Life. Give him a 5-star rating while you're at it also. And be blessed. Remember that hunting has the power to transform lives through primal adventure and that you can never outgive good, as that is our goal in this world, to just leave it a better place than how we found it. I'm Johnny Mack. Remember that mentorship is conservation. Freedom on, everybody, and stay soulful. If you enjoyed today's podcast and want to support the show, you can always like, share, subscribe, and leave a rating as it helps us share our mission of mentorship is conservation. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of Soul Seekers Nation as we transform lives through primal adventure. If you want to get more connected with the podcast, check out the Soul Seekers Nation Facebook group as I look forward to connecting with you on the next episode. So stay tuned and stay soulful.